Welcome to the Empowering Industry Podcast, a production from Empowering Pumps and Equipment as the voice of the pump and related equipment industries. Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Empowering Industry Podcast. I'm your host, Charli Matthews. Super excited to be here. I've been on the road traveling to different trade shows. So I've got this 1 week at home doing a lot of podcast recordings, which is great. And then we go off again, several trade shows. Epic is coming up. So the Empowering Pumps and Industry Conference, that's going to be at the Water Tower on November 8th and 9th. So really excited for that, bringing the industry together. And one of the people that I always get to see when I'm going to trade shows is Mark Connolly. Thank you for being here, rock star that you are. We love the Chesterton company. And just tell us a little bit about you, Mark.
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you for having me, Charlie. I saw you a few weeks ago at WEF and it's great to be on this podcast with you. So as you said, my name is Mark Connolly. I got into the industry I started with mechanical engineering at Clemson University. And from there, what I thought of engineering was more on the design side, but I did some projects that actually got me some exposure into the manufacturing side of things. So that really piqued my interest. And
I
through
saw
that,
that. I saw that you kind of had like a process engineering side too. Is that what
yeah,
you're talking about?
yeah. So it was actually my senior capstone design project. I worked with the BMW plant in Greenville, South Carolina.
I've
They,
seen that plant because
they
my family's
manufacture
up there.
the X5s and the X3 BMWs. So we were helping design some new tooling for some of their new robotic arms they were getting in. And just seeing that plant, like you said, it's really cool. Doing some of the hands-on work, seeing how stuff is made, it piqued my interest in manufacturing. So from there, I did a few internships in the summers, working with different manufacturing companies back in Connecticut, which is where I'm from originally. And then my first job out of college was with a bearing manufacturing company in Connecticut as a manufacturing/process engineer, where the focus was on um, uh, design of new, if you have a new product coming out, whether new equipment needed to be designed, and then implementing the new processes, as well as for existing processes, trying to focus on quality improvement and just defining the procedure and then optimizing the
Yeah,
process.
that's what I was thinking when you said that. I was thinking reliability for some reason. So
Yeah,
part of that design is making sure that it will sustain itself, right?
absolutely. And, that manufacturing engineering background, I then came to Chesterton on the manufacturing/process engineering side, which I did for a few years, and I eventually transitioned into product management. But it was a pretty natural connection there because a lot of our products, they're focused on reliability and efficiency gains and quality improvements. So, going from the back end side on manufacturing, looking at processes and how can we improve the quality output of these processes and how can we improve the efficiency. I kind of have that almost a customer's viewpoint. So now that I know our products, I can see the value that we provide to customers by improving their uptime or helping ensure they have a good quality product. So it really kind of
Is that a natural fit, like from going in from engineering into project management? Is that a normal path?
um, I would say the engineering side can help give you a technical understanding of products. It is two different, especially from the manufacturing engineering side. I had never been in a customer facing role. I had never, seen the industrial applications. So there was definitely a learning curve, as well as just understanding the product development flow and doing exposure to financial analysis and sales. So it's different, but it certainly is it's a good path to follow because you have a good foundation if you understand a lot of engineering and manufacturing.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, and how that would be a good growth area to be in within a company because kind of we've talked about this before with kind of that C-suite knowledge. You do have to understand the financials and really all the other pieces as far as marketing and sales um, alongside that engineering know-how. Well, that's the best case scenario, right?
Right. Absolutely.
Okay, so what made you want to be an engineer? So I'm super curious how you got into. I kind of understand like from graduation, but do you have anybody in your life or anything like why engineering?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, when I was in high school and starting to think about college, a huge impact on where I wanted to go to school was what program do I want to be in? What was my major going to be so I can find a school that's good for that major. And I originally told my parents I wanted to do psychology because it always interested me, just interpersonal relationships and how minds work and things like that. And my father told me, if you want to do psychology, that's great, but just get an engineering degree first and then do whatever you want. So his background is engineering. He was a mechanical engineer, and then he got a master's in metallurgy. He worked as as an engineer for the Navy for a while. Then he got into consulting for manufacturing. So, based on his success, he focused, really encouraged myself and my brother to do engineering. So I was like, all right, I can get into this.
Yeah. Well, first, thank you for its service, and then thank you for pushing you in this direction so we get to know you. And I think that's natural. I have that kind of same with my mom, who was like, "Well, you ain't gonna make any money in that. You should do this," and you lead down finance, and we're like, "Well, okay."
Yeah.
So there's always something like that, but I think you definitely have to read people and understand behaviors in what you're doing now.
Oh, absolutely. And I think, across all jobs, I think interpersonal relationships are just essential. You need to be a likable person and you need to foster mutual respect. Really, with any type of job, if you want people to help work with you or understand what you're doing, or you need to do things for people, you need to have be able to have good relations and be able to be communicative and respectful. So, uh,
100%. We hope that we can continue to help leaders have better skills like that. And, it is important. And when we're really trying to get ideas across, innovative, thinking and that kind of thing, you got to have it both sides on. I love that word respect for both because a lot of the times we are thinking about it differently. So being able to actually listen, I love that.
yeah, I actually have a pretty good story from early on. My first job was at like I mentioned, a bearing manufacturing facility for the aerospace industry. And here I am. I didn't know anything about bearings really. In engineering school, you learn about a lot of like the principles, like physics and stuff. You don't learn specific equipment or specific products. So I'm 22 years old. And they give me like a certain product cell. We're making this specific product line, and there's this two different operators there, the machinists. And they're like, yeah, my boss tells me, go over there. We're making these stuff and see how we can try to automate some of this because the equipment's pretty old and we need to increase our output. So they're like, just observe this guy that's working, try to learn stuff, and then try to get something done. So I go out there, and the first day, the guy wouldn't even, machinist wouldn't even look at me.
Mhm.
I'm wearing my like polo and like my brand new jeans and everything, and he just wouldn't even look at me. And I'm like, to him, I was just this kid that was there to try to tell him what to do. And over time, I got to know him a little more. He got to know me. I learned from him. I encouraged him to know that I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm here to work with you, and based on your feedback, use what I know about machine design or fixtures or efficiency to combine our knowledge to help us both. And that, it was about probably like a 6-month project, but over that time, by the end of it, we developed a mutual respect. It wasn't me coming in saying, this is what you have to do. I was humble enough to realize I don't know anything, and he caught on to that and helped me, and I helped him. And it was just that experience really helped me. I still think about that anytime I'm working with anyone in any role. It just learning.
Yeah, and as a young professional coming in, it takes time. So I love that you gave that example. It was a project that took a little work. Somebody's not just gonna trust you straight off the bat. Like you have to build that. And so I'm sure that it's a different level for everyone, but to just go in it with that in mind that building relationships do take time. And I love the other part about how, he had to know like that you were in it for him as well. So that's great.
Yeah,
And to be able to take that along the ride, have that experience and story, it was meaningful to you as a young professional. So everybody, who I guess is in that place where they can mentor somebody else, it does make an impact on them. Straight, I think about the coaches in my life. I played basketball and I still remember that, seventh grade coach or whatever, like they make an impact.
absolutely.
Okay. So Mark, you are at Chesterton, AW Chesterton, for y'all that aren't familiar. Fluid sealing products, all kinds of amazing technologies. What are you currently working on there?
Yeah. So currently, well, first of all, this upcoming year, 2024, will be our 140th anniversary as a company.
Fun.
So established in 1884 in Boston, Massachusetts, headquartered up in Groveland, Massachusetts now, but we're really looking forward to celebrating that 140 years. But yeah, in terms of new products, so what I'm a product manager focusing on mechanical packing and gaskets specifically, but we have a new technology that we've been promoting called AMPS, AMPS. It's the automated mechanical packing system. And it's a fairly simple principle, but it really changes how packing works, the world of packing. Because for anyone not too familiar with mechanical packing, you need to apply a load to it for it to be able to seal a fluid. But over time, the packing, usually that load is applied through bolts. So you're tightening bolts to put a load on the packing and it's sealing a fluid, to put it simply. But over time, as the packing compresses or consolidates and it loses some volume, so you start to lose that load. And as you lose that load, you lose your sealing capability. And that means you either have to go and retighten the bolts, or if it's a safety issue where you can't retighten it while the equipment is running, you just have to deal with the leakage in some other way. So this AMPS product, what it does is it is it's an air-powered load. So instead of relying on the torque in the bolts, you're just turning a regulator to power this air cylinder that maintains a constant load on your packing. So even as the packing wears, consolidates, compresses, the cylinders are going to expand and maintain that constant load. And if you do end up needing to make any adjustments to it, you can just turn the regulator up, increase the pressure a little bit without having to actually touch the equipment. So it's a improvement in performance, reliability, and safety. So
Yeah.
we're really excited about it.
Yeah. I got to see a little bit of that at TPS, and you don't have to be right there. It's not like you're adjusting the bolts like before, right? You don't have to be right there with the equipment, which is great for our workers. And how does that relate back to kind of the control room, or what does it do to tell you that it's time for this packing to be
Yeah. So right now it's really just it doesn't have a feedback to the control room. You're really just looking at your equipment. If anytime you would do a walkthrough, or if you see it leak, you can adjust it. But it really, once you do your initial setup, it's going to maintain that load. So it's not going to be the same as with bolts where you had to go and adjust it. It's going to maintain it. So once you have it set, it really should be pretty constant and not need any touching.
Okay, wonderful. The less maintenance, the better. Right.
Yeah. So just last week, I was down in Shreveport, Louisiana at a paper mill installing one of these on a big, large hydro pulper piece of equipment. Basically, it's if they find any defects in the rolls of paper, they dump all that paper back into this big, think of it as like a massive blender. And there's these two huge blades spinning. And so it's in hot water. It's like pulpy paper, which is actually very abrasive. So to access it was a vertical entry. So you had to go underneath it where there's a gearbox and spinning these huge blades. So to get under there, it was only like 4 foot high ceiling down there. It's like down in this pit where there's like oily water with paper. So their maintenance staff, one, it was a safety concern to even go down there while the equipment was running. And two, physically, it was extremely like it was a pain. The pain
Right.
to get down there and do it.
That's like annoying
So
just to have to do it.
yeah.
Yeah.
So getting this installed down there, and we were able to have the regulator well outside of it. So you're not next to the equipment. You're out. You don't have to crouch down and hurt your neck. It was those guys were so excited about it when we had it installed and showed it to them. It's been running since Monday. It's doing great. But it's those type of applications where this is a huge improvement for people.
Absolutely. Well, that's, I love a plant tour. It's one of my favorite things. Never been in a paper plant, but I've heard these stories, and you just we need that, and we need that to not be an issue for our workers, right? They're already, have to make sure the equipment is or the product is going through the way it's supposed to. We need to be able to rely on these type of processes to be set. And well, good. Well, good. I love this. I know that your team was excited about it. There's several different case studies out there of this working. So definitely want people to talk to you about that. The other thing is I find really exciting because I'm a media person is that you've got this new room at the facility in Groveland. I was actually part of the launch. I got to cover the launch, of course. I don't even call it a launch now, but the space and the redesign of the space. So this room that y'all have converted into a video and media room where you're doing interviews and things like that. Can you tell us a little bit about that and what to expect coming from you?
Yeah, definitely. Just today, we did a big webinar on actually the AMPS product in that room. So
Perfect.
it's a full media studio with the green screen. It's almost like it feels like you're going on the set of like a news station when you go in there, which is pretty cool. But yeah, keep a lookout. We've got webinars for it's almost every other week for the rest of the month.
Well, we'll
Especially on
definitely
the
connect the
yeah.
one on AMPS to this podcast as well.
Perfect. Yeah, we did it twice. So we do one for our customers and one for our specialists. And that's kind of the style we're doing. We have another one coming up on mining. So rotating equipment and mining sealing. And I believe we have another one on our dual packing product coming up.
All
So
very impressive because I was just posting about a mining pump and they put oil sands through it. Again, this abrasive material, but the size of the pump, you really can't comprehend it without seeing some of these equipment of that. There's a seal in there. There's packing in there, that
yeah.
has to be that large in order for it to work. So it's very impressive. The dual pack, such an engineering feat and of just amazingness. And so, if I can just ask you, what is something as far as advice that you would give to somebody coming into our industry?
I would say keep learning and um, you know, don't pigeonhole yourself into a certain role. Um, you know, for me, it was like when I went into engineering, I was thinking I would be design, but then as soon as I realized that manufacturing is there, I got into manufacturing, and then from manufacturing, it was more process improvement, and then product management. I was like, well, I'm kind of an engineer. Why should I do product management? But now that I'm in that, it's like you keep learning, you keep growing. Um, and if you have an opportunity to do something where you can learn something new, even if maybe you feel it's a little outside your comfort zone, I encourage people to really try it. Take that. Maybe it's a risk, but if you have to, you can always fall back on what you know. But it's important to keep growing by continual learning and challenging yourself.
I love it. I love it. Okay. A little rapid fire, my favorite part of that thing. Tell me what your favorite book is.
Favorite book. All right. Well, fiction book, I would say Red Rising by Pierce Brown.
Okay.
It's a it's a good
Just fun
future.
book.
It's kind of a sci-fi book. Yeah,
Okay.
but it's
Okay.
a trilogy. I would definitely recommend it.
Love it.
Nonfiction. There's a book called How We Got to Now that I really loved. It's about 6 inventions that changed the world. It's by Stephen Johnson. And it goes and it talks about Glass is one of them. Ice is one of them. And it's just these simple inventions that he goes through, like, this invention happened and this is how it changed everything. It's a really interesting read and it's not too long.
I like it. I like it. Okay. So, last question. What is the best advice you've ever received?
Best advice I've received. Well, I think it'll go back to freshman year in high school playing lacrosse. You mentioned earlier how these experiences with mentors and coaches can really shape your, have an impact on your life in the future. Well, this was actually a teammate of mine. We were in one of our first games on the freshman lacrosse team, and I missed. It was against our rival Glastonbury and Simsbury, and I missed a shot near the end of the game, and we ended up losing. And I said, with my friend Ethan, I said, if I had made that shot, we would have won that game. And he said, that might be right, but you got to move past it. We're past it. And it wasn't necessarily a piece of advice, but what I took from that was, it's important to learn from your mistakes, and the past is important. It affects your future, but at a certain point, you can't dwell on it. You got to move forward. And that's the way to keep going. So my friend Ethan, probably if he ever hears this podcast, would be he might not even remember that, but
You can send it to him. We'll
yeah,
send it to you, the link, and you share it. Just
yeah,
want to make sure he knows he's famous now, right?
exactly.
Yeah. Well, honestly, it's a pleasure every time I get to see you, Mark. You're doing a great job there. It's like several years. We'll say like 7 almost, if
Yeah,
not, at Chesterton. And I can't wait to see what you do next, because it really is remarkable what y'all as a company have been able to do over the last. I guess I've been working with y'all for over a decade now, so I'm aging myself, but it's been wonderful to watch. I hope you continue to grow. Amazing team to work with. So, thank you for your time today. If anybody wants to connect with you directly, how do you want them to do that?
absolutely. And thank you for having me. So I can be found, definitely LinkedIn is a good way, but also my email is mark.connolly@chesterton.com.
Perfect. All right, everyone. Thank you for being here. Please share, like, subscribe, do all that fun stuff that helps us show up, and share this amazing episode. I was touched. I know somebody else will be inspired. So until next time, be empowering.